Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to this breath workshop. I am thrilled that you're here and we're going to have a lot of fun today. So, whether or not you have an established breath practice, or you're maybe thinking about making one, or you've been doing it for years, my intention is to really offer you um, simplicity simplicity, letting it be really simple and accessible and easy and something that you want to do every day. Because that's how the benefits really add up, is when we're doing it every day. So, where we're going today, I'm going to offer you a brief overview of the practice of pranayama, or breath control, and just highlight some of the key things that are in the guide that you'll be receiving, the bonus guide. And then I will walk you through the 3 exercises that I am offering you today. And that's where we're going. Okay. So, with that said, let's get started here. I am pulling up my notes. So, there nowadays is a big breath work has become kind of a catch-all and a big practice, which is beautiful. I there are so many benefits to working with the breath, and I love the attention that it is receiving and how more and more people are turning to this free, powerful tool. I mean, we're here, the breath is here, air is free, we can have as much as we want to lean into it. Breath is the most potent and direct way of making a change in our physiology and our nervous system so quickly. I mean, so quickly. Um, Truly, I'm not sure of anything else that can do that quickly. That's not, a chemical that we are kind of putting in and forcing some kind of change. So the breath can both increase our energy and our kind of nervous system activation, and it can simultaneously, we can turn it down right away. And so I'd love for you to have kind of a felt sense of this. So exhale wherever you are, just kind of get cozy, and then just come back to a normal breath. And I'd love for you to notice the inhale. So we'll take a few cycles of breath. Obviously, there will be an exhale after the inhale. And for right now, for the next 2 or 3 breaths, I really invite you to notice what happens in your system on the inhale. Okay. It might be helpful to um, notice your pulse. So you could take your fingers and go to your pulse on your wrist or behind your jaw, and just kind of notice, like, oh yeah, there's a little bit of maybe a little bit of an increase on the inhale. Not everybody will have that, and it will be very subtle. Maybe you notice kind of a surge of energy a little bit. Maybe not a surge, that might be kind of strong, but an increase. And so then dropping that, and now I invite you to do the opposite. So focus on the exhale. So as you inhale, kind of just let that be. And then noticing your exhale. Notice what happens in your body. Notice if there's a change in your pulse or in your sense of your energy. And then dropping that. So right there, you just had a felt, observable experience of the two sides of your breath coin, the inhale and the exhale, and what it does to the system. For many of us, we breathe very shallowly and we don't really empty our lungs. So when we're breathing really shallowly, there kind of can be more of an emphasis on that inhale, which is, sometimes necessary if we're like, you know, needing to wake up or get that jump. But if we're in that state chronically, it adds to our sense of stress, anxiety, feeling ungrounded. So most of us don't really enjoy that full empty exhale, which is where that downgrading happens, that or downshifting rather, that deceleration, the downshift happens in the system. So when it comes to breath, obviously we need to breathe. That is of the things that we need to live, right? Food, water, breath. Breath is by far the most important. We can go longer without food and without water than we can without breath. So it is the most important thing to our aliveness. And many of us, like I said, are not breathing properly. We're not breathing consciously. And so then the breath can just simply enhance any feelings of anxiety or stress that we're already carrying, rather than being a tool to change that state. And the difference with how to make it a tool to change that state is our intention and our conscious awareness. And so that is the practice of pranayama. Pranayama is more than just breathing exercises or breath work. It's a way to really harness and enhance life energy. So pranayama has two words. This is Sanskrit, from the practices of yoga from the Vedic tradition. And it is the art of controlling our breath. So control can kind of sound a little bit forceful to my ears. So I like to think about it as a way of intentionally using and directing my energy, my life force energy, my prana. So the prana in pranayama is life force, and yama is that restraint or control, influence. So this is us intentionally and strategically using our capacity to make the breath a voluntary mechanism, right? Because like the breath can be both involuntary and voluntary, and thank goodness it is something that just happens automatically, right? Because we can't think about it all the time and we'd never be able to sleep. So thank goodness it has the ability to be just something that happens, right? And it also has the ability to be something that we can actually control and use. And so the practice of pranayama is kind of like us coming in with some loving, motherly discipline or attention to check in and to guide and direct our energy, which is so beautiful. It really is a beautiful ability that we have. And so these different techniques then are designed to regulate the flow of energy in the body. And so since our breath is literally connected to every single thing that our body does, everything in our body requires oxygen, requires the breath in order to operate every single cell, every single function. So because of that powerful connection, that is why pranayama is so powerful. That is why our breath is so powerful, and learning to use it in a very directed and intentional way makes all the difference. All the difference. So there are many pranayama practices ranging from as simple as what we did in the beginning, just kind of observing long, deep breathing. And there's ones that get a little bit more sophisticated or advanced and involve retentions either on the inhale or the exhale. So there's a broad spectrum of different practices, and each practice offers its own unique kind of essence or benefit. And there's nothing to like get right about breathing practices. There's nothing to like strive for, like, oh, I want the advanced ones. What's that? It's really not about that. It's kind of like there's something for everyone at every time, and the most advanced, quote unquote, if we could call it that, the most profound is simply observing, bringing that awareness and that attention back to your breath, having this long, deep breath, this kind of song in your self. I love to think of my breath as like its own music. So the true benefits of pranayama then are in the compounding nature of the practice. So by dedicating ourselves to regular exercises, kind of specifically doing the same ones, not jumping around like, oh, today I'll do this and tomorrow I'll do that, but having a set of practices that work for your unique constitution, your unique life stage and needs at the time, maybe aligning a little bit with the seasons. That's really where the beauty and the magic comes. So dedicating oneself to a regular, consistent practice with the same exercises, building that wealth of resilience that comes with the practice every day. It is something truly, it's like putting a little bit of savings into our resilience account every day, our little resilience piggy bank, dropping some quarters into our resilience piggy bank every single day through the practice of pranayama. And in the guide I shared, for those who may like to nerd out on some of the science mixed in with the spirit like I do, I've included some citations for some scientific studies that have been done on pranayama. I mean, truly, it's life-changing. It is part of, I have a few daily non-negotiables, and my pranayama practice is probably number one non-negotiable every morning. So I also offered some ways of caring for the sinuses and the lungs to help you to get the most out of your pranayama practice. A lot of people, when they're beginning a practice, might notice, oh, they have maybe some allergies, some sinus issues that prevent them from really breathing fully. And so I've offered some ways of caring for that, to really open this space up and to care for, so that you can really get the most out of these practices. And a beautiful thing is that the practices themselves also support sinus and lung health. So it's just beautiful. I've also offered you other just general tips for respiratory well-being from an integrative health and an Ayurvedic perspective, because that's always the lens that I will be coming to you from. Something that I feel is very important in this regard is ensuring that we're getting regular movement. Not only does it, again, help this whole system, this cardiovascular and respiratory system, but it also keeps things up here mobile, right? And so a lot of us, if we're super, super stiff or tight up in this rib cage, it's going to be even harder to like really expand and take full breaths. We want this rib cage to really open. And so let's actually play with that. I invite you to take your hands. I'm not sure if you can still see me where my hands are. No, I'm way down here. So taking your hands and just kind of holding your ribs, okay? And then exhaling wherever you are and feeling how the ribs should come together, like you got a little corset on. That's how we're emptying completely all the way down, okay? And then inhaling. And these should be expanding, 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 and exhaling. Inhale. Exhale. So that is something that you can play with to really kind of feel how loose, how mobile things are in there. But that's another reason why regular movement can be so beneficial. It's to keep all of this nice and open, keeping movement in our thoracic spine, keeping movement in our ribs. Now, I have scoliosis, and so I do a lot of extra stuff to ensure that everything here can stay open, because scoliosis can also impact breathing. So just a little extra nugget in case you might have scoliosis or you know somebody. So keeping mobility and movement in our system, in our bodies, can support the breath and the lung capacity, as well as the pranayama practices themselves support and enhance our lung capacity and the movement up here, because we can create spaciousness and create change and more mobility from the inside out with those practices when we're breathing deeply all the way down into our diaphragms, all the way into our full lung capacity, right? Not just kind of the shallow up here, but really sending that breath all the way down. We're inflating and creating mobility from the inside out. So then when we couple that with like making sure this up here, and do this right now with me, if it feels good. That sounded very commanding. But just keeping this like, ooh, yeah, like open, mobile, that impacts our lung capacity as well. So, okie dokie. And there are other tips in this guide. Hydration is something that is huge. It can help to maintain mucosal health and just keep everything nice and hydrated and happy. When it comes to pranayama practice, there are some things to keep in mind. There are just a few little guidelines that I wanted to touch on. But I think before I do that, just touching briefly on the difference kind of between breath practice, breath work, and like a pranayama practice. And so everything is breath practice, right? And anytime I am doing something that is with my breath that is intentional, I am controlling or influencing my life force energy. So that pranayama. So I can do it right now. You know, I'm sitting here at my desk teaching, and I can take a pause and intentionally shift my awareness into my breath and influence and direct my energy, my life force energy. So the kind of pranayama practice that I'm speaking about is that intentional daily practice with those specific exercises that we do every day at the same time in the same place, and let those benefits compound. The little extra additions throughout the day are beautiful and wonderful. And then what makes it more of that like yoga, dedicated, intentional, spiritual, holistic practice is that addition of the disciplined approach, that loving discipline, or tapas, if you ever study the sutras, that loving intentional discipline where we let the practice kind of work on us every day. Show up, same place, same time, same practices, like that mala repetition. If you ever do a rosary or a mala, any of those repetitive things, right? We're putting those grooves into our system. It's the same thing here. So developing the habit is like developing any other habit. And there are some specific guidelines when it comes to pranayama. So the best, and again, these are ideals, and sometimes our life doesn't fit into an ideal framework, right? And that's fine. We do what's ideal and best for us. Yeah. So the best time to do these practices is first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. So we're not doing them, after we've eaten. We're not doing them after we've had like a giant big gulp Slurpee. Like, we're doing them on an empty stomach, ideally first thing in the morning during those quiet, peaceful, dark hours around sunrise. And we're in a calm, comfortable space that's free from distractions and noise, strong odors, fans, or excessive wind. It's a peaceful, still place. We're working with that life force energy, and so we want, to the best of our ability, the things around us to be supportive of that intention, so that energy, when we're starting to work with it, behaves in the way that we're intending it to, rather than being influenced by these other outside things during a vulnerable time. Vulnerable meaning we're doing this practice, we're stirring up the energies, stirring them up in order for them to be directed in a way that we're intending through the specific practice. And so if there's these external things and we're stirring them up, it's kind of like oh, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. You're stirring me up, and it's like super windy. And so then I'm going to feel extra ungrounded, and vata might kick up for those that speak a little Ayurveda, that air and earth. I'm sorry, not earth, the air and ether element within us that is directly attached to breath, right? Without air and ether, there's no breath. And without those elements in us, there's no movement, there's no life. So intentionally working with these parts of us. You will sit in a comfortable upright position. And so you can use any props or cushions, anything at all, to make that happen. If you're completely brand new, and or sitting is just not going to comfortably happen for you, you can begin your practice and build those kind of muscles and abilities by laying on the ground or leaning against a wall for a while. Totally, like, okay, totally okay. I am all about making things yours and letting go of any type of, again, like I said, an ideal, because not all of us are ideal. Like I shared with you, I have scoliosis. And so sometimes I need to do some things a little bit differently than might be ideal, right? Or taught or shown in a perfect practice, which doesn't exist. So you'll do your practices in the same place. You kind of have this sacred space. Ideally, you can set it, make it yours, bring in something beautiful, some crystals, some plants, whatever that looks like. And again, letting it be yours. Okay. And those guidelines are all in here. And it really helps when you have this dedicated space. It's so inviting. And then your own essence starts to collect there. And it just feels like this place that you want to be. And then couple that with the kind of compounding cause and effect of the practice itself. the habit just kind of builds itself. It's not something that is like, oh, I need to do that thing, like, oh, I have to pay that credit card bill, or like, oh, it's trash day. Like, it's not something that feels, it's something that you'll just begin to crave, most likely, in my experience and in my experience of working with and talking to tons of people that have a practice also. Okay. So let's move into the practices I'm sharing themselves. Oh, after a little sip. Okay. I am sharing 3 breath exercises, 3 pranayams with you today. When it comes to building a pranayama practice, not only are the particular exercises that are in your daily practice important, but the order that they're done in is also quite important. So I'm offering you a little 3-part practice, and ideally they're done in the order that I am offering. And my mind just completely went blank. The reason for that is they each have a specific effect. And so these 3 in particular, we have like this little kind of wave. And so we start out with kind of more of a focusing, centering exercise that wakens and enlivens and kind of warms and stimulates gently. And then we build that a little bit more with more invigorating warmth and activation. Again, why this is important to do in the morning. We don't want to activate like before bed, right? And then we end this 3-part series with a neutralizing and a balancing. So we kind of like, right? And so that said, something like the 3rd one in this series, you can, like, if you want to do a little bit more before bed, this is a great one to do anytime. When we're like putting things together, the order is something to consider also. And then also, like I said, feeling into your own lived experience and your own cause and effect relationship. So like when I do breath of fire, I feel X. Therefore, breath of fire at 8 p.m., 9 p.m. is probably not the ideal thing for me to do if I'd like to easily fall asleep. So the first one that we're going to do is Ujjayi breath. And you've probably heard this if you've ever been to a yoga class in your life. You've probably been taught this and have worked with this breath. So Ujjayi translates to victorious breath. And I really love this breath because it, for me, generates this beautiful kind of simultaneous enlivening in the sense that my awareness feels like it sharpens, and it is invokes a very big sense of feeling very mindful and very present. And it also calms me. So I think a lot of times, especially in our over caffeinated world, we think that to like be sharp and on and aware and awake, we have to like be, caffeinated and like a little crazy, right? And so Ujjayi kind of shows us that no, that's actually not the natural way of creating that kind of high. To be really aware and focused can be done and is most sustainably done for our long-term health in a calm, present, grounded way. So that's what Ujjayi does for us. So you will begin your practice comfortably with an erect spine and letting any props or cushions around you that you might need. You can totally also sit in a chair. That is totally allowed. So, chair against a wall. And like I said, if you're brand new or have any type of physical thing going on at all, you can lay down. And that can be a nice way to connect. You can put hands on ribs and feel into what we were working with a little bit ago as well. And then eventually, perhaps getting to a point where you can sit comfortably with spine erect and not leaning against anything. And maybe not, just invitations. So coming to that seat and closing your eyes, letting your awareness go inward. So important, again, when we're doing meditative practices, when we're working with breath, when we're meditating, to withdraw the senses. So in this case, closing the eyes. It can be nice also to wear some kind of shawl around the shoulders or draping it over the head. We create that sense of containment, that triangle or the spiral, for those that are familiar with those concepts from InnerSpark, my work. So breathing comfortably, finding your seat, shifting from listening and learning and a very sensorial experience to going inside yourself. So these practices invite us inside ourselves to become really aware of and friends with, intimate with our energy, how it feels, what it's doing. And so from here, we'll move into Ujjayi. So for Ujjayi breath, you're going to maintain this peaceful, deep inhale and exhale through the nose. What makes it Ujjayi is that we are going to gently constrict the back of the throat just slightly. Ever so slightly. So it's those same muscles down in the throat that you might use if you were going to like fog up glasses if you're going to clean them. But you're doing it with your mouth closed. And that was just a way of kind of feeling into those muscles if you were unsure where they were. So mouth is closed. Breath in and out through the nose. Back of the throat is slightly constricted and staying there. So throughout these rounds of Ujjayi, this throat is staying with that slight constriction. And so you're making this really soft ocean. I've heard people say it reminds them of like a soft Darth Vader, if that is helpful. And so we're not going for volume necessarily, like loudness. Let it be quiet and let it be gentle and see if you can really lean into the internal sound that you're making. Let your awareness be completely absorbed by that internal ocean, Darth Vader, subtle, soft sound with that constricted throat and the breath gently flowing in and out. And let yourself be soft, letting the spine stay erect and softening any unnecessary muscles letting just what needs to be working work in a very gentle, gentle way. Not any more than it has to, and let everything else that doesn't have to work soften. The face, the eyes, the shoulders, still maintaining this ujjayi. Noticing what's happening for you, noticing any physical sensations, emotions. And taking a few more rounds. And then softening the throat and returning to just normal breath. And notice the effects. And so from there, you will move into breath of fire, Kapalabhati, breath of fire. So staying internal, I will guide you through, letting the whole practice be a meditation and inward exploration. So, to the best of your ability, maintaining that connection, eyes closed, inward focus. So, breath of fire is one that is stimulating, energizing. It clears blockages, both literally and metaphorically. If you are having any type of sinus or allergy issues, having tissues nearby can be fantastic. It's wonderful to get things out. It's warming and can increase confidence and willpower. So, with breath of fire, Kapalabhati, from the same posture, everything is done from this same inward place, the same seat. For breath of fire, you will take short, sharp exhalations through the nose. This is all done through the nose. And then the inhalation will happen passively because you've created a vacuum. So the emphasis is on the exhale, and then the inhalation will happen passively. Okay, I'm going to show you. So just listen. There's really nothing to see. You can look at me if you'd like to. There's really nothing to see. It's actually can be kind of powerful to just kind of listen to what's happening and kind of mimic that with your own body. So so the work is only coming from the exhale. I'm exhaling with some force. And through that force, the inhale happens very passively. And there's kind of a pumping action happening down at my belly. Okay. So now you can try if you haven't already And if this one again is brand new to you, starting with something that's comfortable. So, maybe it's 10, 20. I wouldn't really advise more than 30 if you're brand new to this, and then you can gently increase with time, with time, with the practice. So over a course of, weeks, months, years even. Just noticing what's happening. And as you're done with your rounds, taking a nice breath in and a nice breath out and observing what happens. And keep the breath flowing, keep that awareness internally, really observing what is your energy doing? What are you noticing? To round out this 3-part series, you will do alternate nostril breathing or Nadi Shodhana. Nadi Shodhana. So again, from this comfortable seat that you have, this soft inward place, you will let your left hand rest on your lap. And you will take your right hand up and you will take this mudra with the index and middle fingers curled down, touching the thumb pad. So then you have these little pinchers, little lobster claw. Okay. You will take this claw up to your nose. You will begin by closing your right nostril with this right thumb, inhaling through this left nostril, filling your lungs fully. Pausing just briefly, closing the left nostril, and then releasing the right nostril. So you exhale through the right. Then inhale through the right. Pause and close and exhale through the left. And that is one round. So you'll inhale left, exhale right. Inhale right, exhale left. Inhale left, exhale right. Inhale right, exhale left. Okay. And it's a very slow, peaceful, relaxed breath. Eyes closed, inside. Relaxing your shoulders, making sure nothing else extra that doesn't need to be on is soft. And so you may begin with maybe 3 rounds. 5 to 10 is a good place to go. If your arm gets tired, you can definitely rest it. You can prop up a cushion or prop up something underneath. It is also okay to imagine. So using no hands, no actual physical touch of your nose, but just imagining that inhale through the left and then exhale through the right. So imagining the whole thing. And letting it be really peaceful, really relaxed. This breath really harmonizes the two hemispheres of our brain and harmonizes the energies within us overall, kind of balancing polarities, finding a sense of equilibrium. It's wonderful for grounding, for shifting us into that calm, peaceful, present place. So finishing whatever round you are on, your round is done when you next exhale on the left. And then relaxing your hands, taking a few moments to reflect, to observe. At the end of a pranayama practice, it's really a great time to move into meditation. At the very least, spending a few moments really observing, letting things settle, not just popping up and jumping into daily life. And so as you feel ready, closing your practice and gently opening eyes and returning to our space. And so I really invite you as a sweet little challenge to use this every day for, give yourself a little something that feels like a little stretch and just see what happens. Maybe I'm going to do this every day for 2 weeks. I'm going to do this every day for a month, whatever that looks like. And again, those components of the practice, the same time, same place, these three in this order, and just see what happens. And I would love to hear from you after you have done this. Love, love, love. Because I know that life-changing magic is abound. And really remember that pranayama is a journey. Some days you might have, some profound realizations or insights, or just like, oh my gosh. And the next day you might be like, I don't want to do this. This is dumb. Right? It's just like, it's holding space for ourselves, really that triangle and the spiral. And knowing that we're always going to feel differently after the practice than when we began. And I don't know anybody that's ever like, I wish I wouldn't have done that pranayama practice today, ever. So however you're feeling at the start, if it's resistant or if it's excited, it really doesn't matter. Let the practice work on you. Pranayama is a journey. I invite you to be patient with your progress and really enjoy the journey and enjoy the path to a healthier, more resilient mind, body, and spirit. Okay. And please do feel free to reach out and share any reflections, ask any questions as you go about this practice. And I am available for additional personalized support through InnerSpark coaching and mentoring sessions and/or InnerSpark integrative health and Ayurvedic lifestyle consultations. So if you're looking for a little mentoring and coaching, or you're looking for a little bit of health guidance, I got you covered. Got you covered. So thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to open it up for questions. Thank you.